An evening meant for fun turned into fear at the Seattle Center.
When I saw a sea of people running through the Armory building to the back and under the stairs. So at that point, I knew something was wrong.
Inside the Seattle Center Armory, chaos unfolded fast. Jimmy Wanik Susambat, co-owner of Seattle Fudge, says instinct took over.
I really didn't know what else to do other than just get people to safety.
He rushed his wife, his 2 young children, and employees into the back, lowering the metal gates, but leaving just enough room to pull others inside as dozens poured in.
I had over 50 or 60 plus individuals, standing on top of sinks, in the back, hiding behind tables, just kind of crouching for safety and cover.
More than 50 people hiding, huddled, waiting.
A lot of folks crying, my daughter included, just really not sure what's going on.
After about 20 minutes, an announcement came over the building speakers saying it's safe to leave.
A woman is safe after deputies say a man chased her down a busy Pierce County road while armed with a knife. I'm Bethany on the King News Desk, and deputies say the woman was able to escape Saturday morning after a man armed with a knife chased her down and threatened to kill her along Pacific Avenue South in Parkland. She immediately called 911, prompting a large law enforcement response. SWAT negotiators helped peacefully take the 45-year-old suspect into custody. He's now facing charges including first-degree assault, felony harassment, and obstructing a law enforcement officer. Deputies also say there was a mental health component to the incident, and the suspect will be evaluated as the case moves forward.
A surge in youth violence here in the Edmonds School District is prompting some parents and community organizers to call for a return of school resource officers on school campuses. Those are police officers who patrol middle and high schools. Here in the Edmonds district, that program was disbanded in 2020 after the murder of George Floyd, with certain parents and students saying they did not feel safe or comfortable with police on campus. Now, some of the community here are saying that was an overreaction. They point to data that they claim shows that calls for police and help have actually increased at local schools since police officers were taken off of campus. And now they're leading the fight to bring those officers back. They say it would be in a reimagined role with a lot more community input as to what those officers could do and what their role would be.
What is going on with the visa situation, you ask? Well, a lot of things have changed in the past couple of weeks. Mid-July, the Trump administration issued a final ruling that anyone who is under the category of F, J, and I visas are now subject to deadlines. The categories include international students, exchange students, as well as international journalists seeking visas to be in the United States for an extended but limited period of time. So if you're an international student coming here to study and you apply for an F1 visa, your F1 visa will have an expiration date now, and it will be issued for 4 years only. This new rule also changes the grace period for extending your F1 visa after those 4 years from 90 days to 60 days. Also, if you do apply for an extension, it's not going to be free. Every time you apply for an extension under this new rule, it will cost you $420. This new rule, it was announced mid-July, but it's supposed to take effect in September.
What's going on?
They said seek shelter in place.
What the
Here we are, sorry.
No, this is our house. You guys are fine.
Thank you.
You guys are fine. Hide in the bathroom or something. What the What the Wait, what happened? Oh, wow. Turn off the thingy.
Parents with their kids and even children running in here, I knew that it was a serious situation, and that just being able to provide some sense of safety and a safe haven for people was all that was kind of going through my head. And I remember a kid telling his parents to just hold on. He needed to breathe. He needed to kind of process what was going on. I know a lot of people were whimpering, crying. People were in tears. They were panicking.
Welcome to Seahawks training camp. It hits different when you're the Super Bowl champions.
We are champions! Woo!
Go Hawks!
All right, show me these amazing sparkly pom-poms.
We just feed off of the 12s, the best fans in the NFL. We're so excited to be here.
How does it feel to be here as Super Bowl champions?
Exhilarating. I feel like a champion right now.
And are we going back to back?
Absolutely, back to back.
The Hunger Intervention Program in North Seattle feeds thousands of people throughout King County every month. But now they're cleaning up a big old mess after thieves broke in and ransacked their offices, even stole one of their delivery vans.
And this is, you can see, like they've done damage here and all this, and then just totally smashed out this window. There's absolutely nothing of value in this van, just a lot of damage for no reason. All that was in here was just some paperwork and signage about the program, napkins. Like that was what was gained out of this. This one was punched out. You can see we have the remnants of them getting this one from out of here. This is the one when you see the photos, like, was really just glass everywhere.
The stolen van was found not too far from the office. The organization is asking anyone with any information to reach out directly to Seattle Police.
We recognize that there's spaces where we've fallen short.
Earlier this month, legislative auditors released a blistering report on the state of juvenile rehabilitation. DCYF's detention facilities remain near or above capacity, overcrowded, with more fights and contraband incidents like drug smuggling reported. Nearly half of frontline staff quit within a year of hire. They feel unsafe, unprepared, and unsupported.
I believe they're past crisis mode, to be honest with you.
State Senator Leonard Christian is the ranking Republican on the Human Services Committee with oversight of DCYF. He blames a Democrat-approved state policy that permits juvenile lockups to house inmates up to the age of 25, with the over 21 group now compromising half of Green Hill's population.
These superintendents are put in an impossible situation and asking them to do miracles in an overcrowded situation. It's unacceptable. The easy fix is to simply change our policy so that you move to the Department of Corrections once you turn 21 years old.
Commuters and visitors to Bremerton are going to have to alter their travel plans come this September. The very popular fast ferries, which have boosted the ferry service here in Bremerton since about COVID, are being cut back. 1/3 of the morning routes or all-day routes heading into Seattle and back are being eliminated on August 31st. This was a temporary boost in funding that enabled them to really boost up their service out of Bremerton, but that funding has run out. The mayor here and legislators say next year at the legislative session they'll fight to get those routes restored, but as of August 31st, 7 of the 20 routes here out of Bremerton, the fast ferries, not the Washington State ferries, but those fast ferries will be seeing a pretty significant cutback, and commuters don't love that idea.
A judge handed down hard prison time for 2 men who ran a massive retail theft ring. Andre Balloon of Bellevue and Vitaly Bobuk of Federal Way will each serve a 1.5 years in federal custody. They ran this Burien store called We Buy Gold, Silver, and Electronics. Investigators say it was packed with stolen goods from boosters, criminals who would steal items from local stores. At the time of the search warrant, agents found more than 74,000 stolen items worth about $2.5 million packed into the store. In many cases, they bought those stolen goods from the boosters for cheap and turned around and sold them on Amazon and eBay. This has been a big problem here in Washington state. A few years ago, experts estimated $600 million in losses a year to organized retail theft in this state.
I thought it was like, is it 67, 60? I'm losing track. Yeah, it doesn't work. I thought about going in the hospital a few days ago just to get out of here and to get fresh air.
Engine 1, do we have a tanker here coming for water for us?
More than a decade later.
2015, I lost probably about 180 cattle when it was done.
The flames of the North Star fire still haunt Carl Stacy.
We had to put a lot of cattle down that were burnt so bad that they couldn't be saved. That's hard, let me tell you. It still hurts. Sorry, guys.
But 11 years later,
we've came back. We're back there again.
Another massive wildfire threatens their way of life.
That's our resilience of the people up here.
Preparation helped create a different outcome.
That's the treatment being effective.
This land is part of the Jackson Ranch, Carl's neighbor.
If you won't take care of them, you can't expect anybody to come help you.
The Washington Department of Natural Resources worked with the Jackson family and the Conservation District to reduce fuels to give their property a fighting chance.
The goal of the treatment here was to keep the fire out of the crowns and to keep fire on the ground as a low intensity.
Huge update on the roofing scam the King 5 investigators exposed just 10 days ago. The federal government is now taking over the investigation. We obtained this email showing prosecutors telling local law enforcement that after our reporting aired, their agencies were inundated with calls from victims. The email goes on to say Homeland Security and the U.S. Attorney's Office are now taking the lead on these investigations and cases. Since our report, I've also heard from 30 homeowners across Washington who say the same men also knocked on their doors, and they all describe that same distinctive trait.
I think his Irish accent.
Very much an Irish accent.
Well, he had an Irish accent.
And these suspects don't just stay in one place. That's why federal involvement is so important.
So local sheriffs will investigate cases that are limited to a certain county. Our office and agencies like the FBI are able to investigate crimes that go across the state.
Now, the U.S. Attorney's Office couldn't comment or talk about this specific case or investigation, but they did explain how federal investigators have tools like nationwide search warrants.
And then seize the money and return it to the victims.
Sources close to the investigation tell King 5 they believe this could be one of the biggest construction scams Washington has seen in decades. And the U.S. Attorney's involvement could signal just how big this is.
We typically work on cases that involve millions of dollars or tens of millions of dollars.
The Department of Homeland Security has now opened an email tip line, Seattle Contractor Fraud at hsi.dhs.gov. And the King 5 investigators also want to hear from you. You can email us at investigators@king5.com, or you can email me at ajudson@king5.com.
HBO Hard Knocks will showcase its first episode on the Seahawks next Tuesday. Quarterback Sam Darnold says it's been fun having them here.
It's been great. We're loving it. I think after the first 3 or 4 days, you kind of forget the cameras are there, which might be a bad thing, but no, I think we're all kind of used to it at this point.
They're really good at capturing and doing what they do. Let's make sure we're us. You guys have been great. I feel like we've been us the whole time. We had a great spirit today, so I think I don't know if I'll watch it, but I'll be looking forward to seeing what they come up with.
It was funny. It was a talk in the QB room. It was like who's going to change and who's not when the cameras go on. You know, just in the locker room, and no one's really changed, which I'm proud of.
And while many think players like Devin Witherspoon or A.J. Barner will be the big stars on HBO Hard Knocks, Darnold thinks it will actually be the head man himself.
The head ball coach, Mike, I think he'll shine bright on Hard Knocks just for people to kind of see his personality and his personality come to life. I think is because he's a great guy. Obviously, we know him. We know who he is as our head coach and as a person. And I think for the entire world to see that is going to be really cool.
HBO Hard Knocks has 38 crew members here working 10 to 14-hour days. They have been busy, but it's going to be fun to watch the defending Super Bowl champs on the big stage. At Seahawks headquarters, I'm Chris Egan, King 5 Sports.
If you were at the Bite of Seattle when this weekend's deadly shooting happened, Seattle police want to hear from you. Investigators have launched an online portal where people can submit photos, videos, or information from the scene. Police say they are still working to identify everyone involved in the shooting, and they're asking anyone who captured footage to share it with investigators. The shooting killed 3 people, injured 4 others. If you have any content that can help, here is the website to the portal. This is what it looks like, and you can also find the link on our website, king5.com.
650 people were supposed to take the bar exam in Yakima until computer issues. Jack Dispenzo was at the Yakima Convention Center when on-site hardware and a configuration issue prevented what he says looked like a third of the room from ever starting the test. He says people started booing after applicants stuck around for up to 6 hours while staff tried to troubleshoot. Eric Wynn doesn't know what to do next after officials called everything off and offered a makeup test in September or next February. Applicants can also ask for a $500 refund, which is only part of the fees to take the exam. Some applicants in 3 Washington state law schools are now asking the state Supreme Court to grant diploma privilege. That gives people their licenses without having to take the exam. Other applicants I talked to say they have kids who go back to school in September or plans outside of work. What would you do?
I love burritos.
Out of the back of a red SUV, day laborers pick up what might be their only meal of the day.
It looks like very slow today. I don't think we'll get it. Maybe 1 or 2 jobs coming.
Alex, who has been looking for work at this Home Depot corner in Shoreline for several years,
I'm handyman. I build a house from the bottom to the top.
says immigration enforcement has changed everything.
A lot of people, the workers, that are scared for ICE.
Solo venimos a trabajar.
Pauline says immigration issues have always existed, but the tone is different this time around.
Ha cambiado bastante.
It's changed a lot. Yeah, there was always deportations before, but now there's lots of raids. They go around hunting us like we're animals.
Chris McGargy is the organizer for Shoreline's chapter of the National Day Laborers Organizing Network. On top of a hearty breakfast, volunteers provide a sense of peace.
We have no illusion that our presence is going to stop ICE from doing its actions, and that's not our intent. All of our volunteers go through a rapid response training so that if ICE does show up, we would follow kind of rapid response protocols around like documenting what they do, not interfering, but things like filming from a safe distance.
Okay. Got a couple broken bones, and plane is burning.
New 911 calls detail what boaters saw near Susha Island last week when a Kenmore Air flight crash-landed and burst into flames. Kenmore says that pilot changed the flight path because of the storms and tried to make an emergency landing.
We are in Shallow Bay off Susha Island, and we just watched a floatplane crash. A Kenmore Air floatplane crash.
Okay, was it in the water or was it on land?
It was coming down, trying to land because there's a storm coming in.
The pilot and all 10 passengers on board survived. Earlier this week, the NTSB interviewed the pilot to find out what went wrong. Investigators are expected to release a preliminary report coming up in about a month.